All right, let's jump right into this explainer on the 17.2 exam strategy for antibiotic resistance. We're totally bypassing the fluff today. We're going to tackle the exact reason you might be losing those absolutely crucial marks on this highly tested Cambridge biology topic, and more importantly, exactly how to fix it.
So here's a quick puzzle for you. Take a look at this standard response to an antibiotic resistance data question. Can you spot the tiny, kinda hidden mistake that literally cost top Cambridge biology 9,700 students their A-star? I mean, on the surface, it seems like a perfectly reasonable biological statement, right? But to a principal examiner, it's worth absolutely zero. Understanding why is our very first step today.
Look, if your revision strategy is just, weighing your brain down with textbook definitions, you are walking straight into a trap. Memorization just isn't enough anymore. Cambridge requires you to actually light up those neural pathways with systematic analysis, especially in totally unfamiliar contexts. If you're just regurgitating facts without connecting them to the new data right in front of you, your strategy is going to fall apart when you need it the most.
In just a moment, I'm going to share a very specific clue straight from the principal examiner reports that will completely change how you write your answers. But first, well, we need a framework. You can't just place that high-scoring golden brick at the very top of your exam paper until your foundational layers are rock solid.
And that solid foundation starts right here, with definitions. Examiners constantly point out that candidates stumble over basic terminology. So when we talk about natural selection in bacteria, we absolutely must be precise. We need to explicitly state that environmental pressures, things like antibiotics, favor the survival and reproduction of bacteria that already possess resistance genes. Without that airtight definition, the examiner is going to immediately start doubting your foundation.
Okay, so to secure those super lucrative process marks, we're going to use what we call the method mark strategy. Your answers need to flow systematically through 4 strict stages. Step 1, you state the concept. Step 2, you extract the evidence. Step 3, apply your scientific reasoning. And Step 4, use precise examiner terminology. Honestly, it's essentially just reverse engineering the mark scheme. Let's actually test this framework on a typical 17.2 data table. Take a quick look at these variables. We've got strains A and B, and both are hit with an antibiotic concentration of 10 micrograms per milliliter. But wow, look at that massive difference in survival, 95% versus just 5%. Ask yourself right now, how would you translate those exact numbers into a top-band written response? This brilliantly illustrates how top-scoring candidates tackle problem-solving, and they do it with absolute momentum. First up, they deconstruct the question, just breaking all that given information down into logical steps. Then, they solve it systematically. And finally, they evaluate their evidence by actually questioning the assumptions, considering different perspectives, and justifying your decisions with solid evidence. That is exactly what pushes a standard, run-of-the-mill answer right into that top-scoring band.
All right, now for that crucial payoff I promised earlier. Let's look at the most common traps pulled directly from the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. These are those sneaky, hidden pitfalls that catch out even the most prepared students year after year. Because let's face it, knowing the biology is really only half the battle. Navigating what the examiner expects is what actually secures you that A-star.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is to avoid these top 3 errors. First, providing vague answers. Second, forgetting to check your measurement units. And third, failing to apply your knowledge to the specific context they gave you. Listen, examiners do not want a generic summary of natural selection. They want specific details. They want you to double-check those units under the pressure of the exam timer rather than just, throwing numbers on the page. And if they give you a specific context, like a hospital setting, for example, your answer has to anchor directly back to that exact scenario.
Let's see this in action to make it super clear. Compare the flawed, vague answer on the left with the much improved top-band answer on the right. The flawed one says, the bacteria survive and become resistant to the antibiotic. It's totally generic. But the top-band answer? It says, strain A demonstrates a 95% survival rate at 10 micrograms per milliliter, indicating directional selection for resistance alleles. Do you see the difference there? It extracts the exact evidence from the table and applies high-level scientific reasoning with that precise examiner wording we talked about.
Integrating specific data, accurate terminology, and contextual reasoning is exactly how you achieve a 100% match with the examiner's rigorous mark scheme. When you synthesize that conceptual framework with systematic analysis, you literally leave no room for doubt. You're effectively holding the examiner's hand and walking them through your logic, step by step, using the exact language they are actively trained to look for. So, you now have the ultimate framework for dominating these antibiotic resistance questions. But
This entire strategy will instantly collapse if you misinterpret the specific command words hiding at the very start of the prompt. Whether the question asks you to explain, describe, calculate, or evaluate, your entire approach has to pivot based on that single word. If you use our fancy data extraction method on a question that is simply asking you to just describe, you are going to lose marks, regardless of how brilliant your biology is. It's this hidden diagnostic cliffhanger that catches basically everyone out.
Because ultimately, whether you're sitting in the exam room or dealing with global healthcare in the real world, surviving antibiotic resistance really comes down to how accurately you can interpret the changing data right in front of you. So, the big question is, will you be the one to spot the evolutionary clues that everyone else misses? To master those crucial command words and secure absolutely every mark you deserve, go ahead and click the next explainer on your screen right now. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Ace the Exams to keep sharpening your edge. Catch you next time.